Good job, I'm Jerry. About to check out 10 best WWE Intercontinental Championship matches of all time. This video is by Parts for Unknown. I want to say, currently the current Intercontinental Champion has been putting on some of the best matches in recent history, man. Gunther, I want to say Gunther and Sheamus' matches that they had last year was pretty good. The triple threat match that they had, that included Drew McIntyre this year at WrestleMania, was incredible. That match was so good, and many more, man. I can't even think of any other great I want to say another one. Another one. Is when the ladder match from, I think it's WrestleMania 31 or 32. It was like a 6-man ladder match, something like that they had, and I can't remember who was the champion. I think Dean Ambrose was the champion. Somebody was the champion. I can't remember who it was. That ladder match was pretty good as well. So we're about to hop into this video, man. So let's go.
Serious question. Is the Intercontinental Championship my favorite championship in wrestling history? I don't know how I can expect you to answer that, because last time I checked, you're not me, and you never will be. Despite WWE's best efforts to make the title irrelevant during the dark days of the 2010s, I think it might just be my favorite title. It's the Maximum Effort Championship, a platform for brass ring-grabbing mid-carders, and unlike the WWE Championship matches, which WWE seem to overcomplicate with sports entertainment bollocks more often than not, Intercontinental matches tended to be allowed to, finish. Honestly, looking back over this list, I've gone back and rewatched these matches, maybe more than any other top matches list. This right here, this is the good stuff. I'm Adam, hailing from Parts of Unknown, and here are 10 best Intercontinental title matches ever. Alright, stop me if you've heard this one before. It's a late night, Netflix hasn't got anything you fancy. You've already watched Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and even NXT Level Up, as well as everything AEW has to offer this week. Hey, you've even got and downloaded Impact Plus, because you need to binge all the King of the Mountain matches. If only there was a way to break out the confines of your region.
Impact got their own streaming service now?
Instead, experience something new. If this sounds like you, then we've got the solution to your woes, and its name is Surfshark VPN, the sponsor for today's video. Surfshark VPN is an online tool that allows you to search the web without the constant fear of someone repo manning your personal data right from under your nose.
We're going to skip
Surfshark
this
VPN, you can seamlessly encrypt your online data. Number 10, AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan, SmackDown 2020. Do you have any idea how good a pandemic match has to be to make it onto one of these lists? And not even the part of the pandemic where they brought a bunch of TVs in and piped in crowd noise.
No crowd at all.
Random developmental talent being instructed to cheer at gunpoint. This match managed to be better than both matches where they wrestled for the WWE title in front of people. Such is the magic of the Intercontinental title, I suppose. It is a hard-hitting, head-stamping bit of technical wizardry that deserves to be seen, even if you hate the NetherRealm that was crowdless COVID wrestling. The counter of that, the Psycho knee into a Styles Clash, is just peachy. And it's great that before Bryan left the company, that at least one of his matches, with the phenomenal one, lived up to both men's full potential. Number 9, Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect, SummerSlam 1991. This is an older match and may lack some of the bells and whistles of the modern era, but it's really buoyed by a stellar Hulkamania era crowd. At SummerSlam 91, Bret Hart began his ascendancy to single superstardom by knocking off Mr. Perfect for the IC title, and compared to slow-moving titans of the main event scene, the main event of this pay-per-view, by the way, features Sergeant Slaughter and Iron Sheik.
Rest in peace, Iron Sheik.
Compared to those, this contest between the two best Techers boys on the roster was a breath of fresh air. It's just the extra levels of care and thought that fill in the gaps of Bret Hart matches. No one just sits in the rest hold. They claw at hair and they try to fight their way out, and that gets the crowd more invested. No one just runs the ropes. They reverse them by grabbing limbs or slamming their sternums into turnbuckles, making every twist and turn seem significant and keep the crowd and the commentators invested. This match is called by Roddy Piper and Bobby Heenan, and Gorilla Monsoon as well, but mostly those two, so it's worth the price of admission alone. Fast and smooth, it's a masterpiece of subtlety, marred only slightly by Hebner being a little too quick to ring the bell after a blistering transition into the sharpshooter. Slow down, Hebs. Number 8, Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon, WrestleMania.
Is that the first ladder match?
It seemed like it in the context of ladder matches of today, the IC ladder matches at Mania's 31.
That match right there, that's what I'm talking about.
Whole match probably, but back in the day, this was all bells and
that was the first ever ladder match.
It blew people's tiny minds. A classic in every sense of the word. This match still holds up because A, the crowd reactions are a novelty all of themselves, and B, the lack of spots actually makes the match seem way more dangerous than what ladder matches have sort of become, a conveyor belt of spots. And C, there's actually way more match than most ladder matches, with the two clickmates executing really solid technical wrestling before the ladder even comes into play. So that when it does, it's even more impactful. Helps when you also have Shawn Michaels, one of the best bumpers of all time, bouncing around the steel like a man on fire. Also, even in all the ladder matches that there's been, this is still one of the best closing sequences, with Shawn getting tangled in the ropes and Razor desperately tearing the belts down as Shawn lunged for the ladder. It's fucking brilliant. Number 7, Randy Orton versus Cactus Jack, Backlash 2004. Bloody hell, though.
Wow.
With one counted RKO, Randy Orton became a man that day, picking thumbtacks out of his hand in a spot that still sends a shiver all the way down the spine. Randy Orton was doing his legend killer thing on his career-defining IC title run as part of Evolution, where he ran afoul of history's craziest Santa Claus, Mick Foley, who digivolved into Cactus Jack to do for Randall what he did for Paul back at the Royal Rumble 2000, i.e. take a smarmy pretty boy and send them through the fire, turning them into a legit main eventer. It's an insane parade of spots with almost no let-up. Could have done without my dad, Eric Bischoff, coming out to briefly lecture Mick about fire safety, but other than that, it's a perpetual nightmare of barbed wire stage dives and blood. Just picturing Cactus staying up all night making that barbed wire bed. He's got Stevie Nicks on in the background, getting frustrated because the ends of the gaffer tape keeps sticking together. Between trips, Orton and later Edge, Mick Foley is the patron saint of carving top guys out of solid suffering. Number 6, Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, WrestleMania 3. Some wrestlers prefer to call it in the ring, and some, like Randy
Everybody
Savage,
say this was one of the best Intercontinental Championship matches of all time.
Decade of WrestleMania. Fair play. Even by modern standards, this match is a firecracker, lightning quick, precisely timed and full of little story beats, calling back to their surprisingly barbaric feud of Macho nearly killing Steamboat's career with that bell shot to the throat.
Whoa.
Also, when Steamboat finally rolls up Savage to win the title, it's an absolutely monumental victory, because Macho Man had held the title for over a full year at this point. I mean, sure, George the Animal Steel was also there, because why wouldn't Phil Mitchell's fluffy testicle be at ringside for one of the most vaunted technical displays in the history of the sport? It's a match featuring two of the best in the world at the time, acting as a perfect combination of southern technical focus and WWE's foreign object narrative shenanigans. Number 5, Rey Mysterio versus Chris Jericho, The Bash 2009. Risky business after the story of your match being someone trying to remove Rey Mysterio's mask.
Chris Jericho. Really, I remember that storyline.
See also Rey and Eddie's match at WrestleMania 21. But this match at The Bash, putting both Mysterio's mask and Chris Jericho's IC title up for grabs, was unbelievably good. It's just perfect pro wrestling. Two incredibly talented workers with excellent chemistry, high stakes, and really strong personalities to cut the graps with enough silly storytelling to keep the fans super invested. Chris Jericho especially is a glorious prick in this match, desperately trying to rip the mask off Rey's face, like he doesn't even give a damn about how merchandisable they are. You can tell as a feud ender as well, with both men pulling out counter after counter after counter to each other's big moves, especially in the last 5 minutes of the match, which sees the crowd fight for everything before the big magic trick at the end. Rey is so often portrayed as a simple babyface, so him actually outsmarting Chris Jericho with a mask within a mask is a lovely little touch of his character. Awesome match, this. Number 4, Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit.
They said this match was really good.
I might have my nostalgia glasses stapled firmly to my head, you know, like all wrestling.
Benoit.
This is still one of the best ladder matches of all time. Ask me to name favourite spots from ladder matches, and half the ones that come to mind are still ones from this match at the Royal Rumble 2001. The walls of Jericho on top of the ladder, which should have been the finish. The suicide dive into the chair shot. Chris Benoit falling off the ladder, bouncing off the ropes to the outside. Jericho, Benoit, Guerrero, RVD, Edge, Christian. All of these men cemented their place in mid-card legend with Intercontinental ladder matches. Honestly, the only top guy from WWE's mid-card back then who never fought for the dangling strap was Kurt Angle. Really? Mad. But of all those stellar contests, this one is the best. Spectacular without sacrificing technical skill, brutal without spilling a drop of blood. It's an absolute clinic in how no one can touch WWE in early 2001. Number 3, Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus.
That match was so good, bro. From this year's WrestleMania.
And I feel confident saying that Murder Accountant has not had a bad match in WWE yet. Actually, wait, remember that Survivor Series match where they eliminated him immediately for no reason? hell. And I'm not gonna lie, I could have done without Titus O'Neil on commentary for this match, repeatedly screaming for someone to call the police, and also the repeated adverts for hard lemonade. But otherwise, this is about as good a hoss fight as you can get. Three men who satisfy three very different daddy kings beating the brakes off each other for our viewing pleasure, and it's just as messy and violent as any decent psychopath could desire. The little micro match between Drew and Gunther as well, it's just leathering each other with chops. It's so exciting. It gets a little mini standing ovation, and it's a very exciting little preview for what's sure to be a 5-star affair at SummerSlam.
Yeah. Great
little subplot of Drew and Sheamus' deteriorating friendship as well. It's just so good, and it's genuinely lovely to hear Michael Cole giggling on commentary at the sheer amount of absurd, fun, nightmare, slap-happy stuff happening on screen. Number 2, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens versus Cesaro versus The Miz, Extreme Rules 2016. Feel like I'm going to get attacked for putting this above the WrestleMania 39
the match.
But
pretty good.
I just rewatched it. It's up there for being one of my favourite matches ever. It's just got all my top lads in it. Cesaro's amazing. Sami and Kevin not only great themselves, but have a bloody brilliant story going on. And I don't care what Luke says. I love this era of The Miz. I've waxed poetic about this match before in our list of best
Miz is at his peak around that time.
Watch that list and send
when he had Maurice come back and be his manager.
This is a match with not only a beautiful pace, a sense of spectacle, and an emotional core of Sami and Kev. There's also a really fun joke at the heart of it. What would happen if the most sports entertainment man to ever exist crashed a Ring of Honor wrestling match with all three ROH alumni putting each other through hell and Miz repeatedly sneaking in to pick up the scraps? I made it clear in my favourite matches of the year list, watch, presents, that I love multi-man matches with a lot of silly moving parts, and this is a shining example of that, and a brilliant example of what the IC title belt can do, shine a huge spotlight on an extremely talented mid-card. And number 1, Gunther versus Sheamus.
Clash of the Castle, number 1. That match was pretty good too.
As much fun as a good multi-man can be, you got to love a really good singles match for the Intercontinental title. Nothing more
they went through a war that night
than two mid-card guys really.
When was that, back in September
last year?
This
is probably the best example of that, maybe ever. Sheamus rejuvenated his whole career in one match. Imperium got back together, and Gunther truly arrived on the main roster, all wrapped up in pure 5-star violence. From the moment Giovanni Vinci appeared, to the really fun faction chaos as Gunther and Sheamus stare each other down, to the 20 minutes of brutality that followed. The match was so good, creating an instantly iconic pairing, so much so they immediately ran it back at the Royal Rumble. Not only was the match supremely violent, there was also tight psychology in the targeting of Sheamus' back, hat played to the finish, plus the overjoyed UK fans showing Sheamus the kind of love he hadn't received in so very long. I had a blast watching it in Gunther's matches. I just like that. They leave you giddy with how much punishment everyone's taking in front of you.
Yeah.
Long.
You just love it. You just love it.
What's your favourite Intercontinental title match? Let us know in the comments, and check out the worst that we did in a list last week.
Y'all didn't put the ladder match on here?
Right now. Use this opportunity to talk about IC.
Alright, y'all, great video, man. Let me know down below in the comments of what y'all thought of my reaction to this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.